video's all about you. You've got your back to the audience. That's not helpful. Hello everybody, today I am going to be making a video all about getting a puppy, which is something that I know a little bit about considering I have one of my own. Even though she's almost 2, I wanted to make this video when I felt as though I could impart a little bit of wisdom. And although I don't want you to take everything I say as fact, as I am not a dog expert, and I feel like with animals and pets and things, it is quite a lot of a personal opinion, but I wanted to shed light on some of the things I've learned in order to help any of you who are trying to make an informed decision on getting a puppy, or any of you who have just got a puppy and are going, oh my goodness, help me, what have I done? So I asked you on Twitter if you had any questions that you'd like me to kind of talk through or address in the video. So I've got a big old list of things to go through. What did you consider before having a puppy? So the things that you need to consider before having a puppy are whether you want to adopt or buy from a KC registered breeder. I know that lots of people have different opinions on this. I think both are great options, and I think it completely depends on what it is that you want. We wanted a puppy, so we looked for a KC registered breeder. You have to make sure you're getting from somebody who knows what they're doing. That is very important. It's also very important to look really hard. Don't just go for the first puppy that you find. Don't just go for the first breeder. You need to do a lot of research if you are going down that route. Or you can adopt. Again, you need to do a lot of research. You need to make sure the dog that you want to adopt is right for you, etc, etc. Even though we didn't adopt this time, it's definitely something that I want to do in the future at some point when the time comes that we decide we want any more animals. But again, it's a personal opinion, and before deciding which route you want to go down, you have to do a lot of research. You also have to consider the space and where you live. If you're living in a tiny flat, is getting a Labrador the best thing for you or for the dog? No. So you want to make sure you have the right space and the right living environment for a dog. Have you got a big garden? Have you got a small garden? Things like that. Time. Time is really important, because if you are in a full-time job from 8 AM until 8 PM, is having a dog really fair? Unless of course you can arrange for care for your dog throughout the day. Nala's just seen a butterfly. I'm not sure if she's seen one of those before. Nala. Do you have the money for a dog? Money is also a big factor. Another question that I got asked was, does having a dog cost a lot of money? And the answer is yes, of course, because a dog is essentially a very large part of your family, and they require things all the time. They require food, they require toys, they require beds, they require blankets, they require shampoos, toothpaste, toothbrushes, poo bags. The list is endless, and of course, depending on how much you want to treat your dog and how much you want to spend on your dog, it also depends largely on which dog you go for. If you get a Great Dane, you are going to spend a lot of money on food, because that dog needs to eat a lot more than a Chihuahua, let's say. If you have a pug who are known to have certain health issues, the insurance is going to be more when you insure your dog. So there's all these different factors which, when you look at different breeds, you can kind of take into consideration where you can when it comes to how much money you might have to spend. But yes, getting a dog is costly. Okay, so the next thing that you need to consider is which breed. This, for me, was the most important part of getting a puppy, because all puppies are cute and all puppies are adorable, but you have to make sure that you are going for a breed that is right for you and your partner, and all those other things that I've just told you about to take into consideration. So money, your house, your garden, all these things are quite dependent on what breed you want to go for. There are so many amazing places you can research different breeds. We spoke to friends who had different breeds. You could go to Crufts, which I think is a great place to go because there are so many different types of dog. You can ask vets, you can ask dog behaviorists, you can go to puppy classes, you can ask your friends and your family, and you can also do a lot of research online. Another huge factor to consider before getting a dog is it good timing? You know, have you reached a point in your career where you're happy? Have you and your partner been together for a substantial amount of time? You know, are you happy together? Can you see a dog fitting into your lifestyle? You know, how busy are you? Do you have children already, or are you thinking of having children in a year? You have to think about your life and whether or not it's a good time to bring another member of the family in, essentially. That again is a really, really important one. What made you select a pug? For us, after doing our research, a pug seemed like the perfect breed to fit in with our lifestyle. There are quite a lot of other breeds, but we liked that pugs had such character, but were also so loving and needed, and you know, their main aim is to please you, and essentially they're a lap dog. You know, they don't need too much mental stimulation, they don't need too much exercise, and because of the lifestyle that Alfie and I have, we wanted to make sure we didn't have a dog that required 3 hours of walking a day, just in case we couldn't give it that. You know, we didn't want to have a dog that we couldn't give it the best that it could have. That's not to say that at some point in the future we could get a husky or something that requires a bit more walking, but right now we wanted a dog that would fit easily into our lifestyle, and a pug seemed perfect. Nala is so friendly, so funny in character. They have like their crazy moments, and then they have their like sleeping all day moments. They're small, they don't shed too much hair. She doesn't smell, she doesn't drool. There were a lot of different things that were kind of plus sides for me. So what happens when you actually have your puppy? We brought Nala home one chilly but very sunny November morning, and I don't think I quite knew at that point how much a puppy would change my life.
In 2 hours' time, my life is going to change forever. Here she is. Hey Nala.
I was so excited, and we had everything ready. We'd gone out, we'd bought her crate, which we decided to do crate training, which I think personally worked wonders for Nala. She really took to that very well. We bought her bed, we got her the puppy pads, we basically spent a small fortune in pets at home, and we felt like we had everything ready for her. When we got her here, it was almost like it didn't really sink in for a good month. It was a real life adjustment. Things that I found to be essential when having a puppy was a small collection of toys. Puppies and dogs do get bored of toys quite quickly depending on how many they have. Nala has a lot of toys, and she'll definitely only really play with certain ones, but it is important to keep changing toys up so that you keep them mentally quite stimulated. A small dog bed, you don't want anything to feel too big and drowning. You can grow a dog bed with a dog, so we had a really small little round one to start with, and she used to curl up in it, and it was just the cutest thing ever. Other essentials. This. This is the Simple Solution Platinum Urine Blaster. Toilet training Nala was really hard. I feel like she only really got it down a year old. If a dog pees on the floor, on the rug, whether if you leave it or you just kind of like mop it up with a bit of tissue, the smell stays, and the dog will forever think that is where it should pee. So you need to do everything you can to remove the smell of pee from anywhere they've been, and this and multiple others were an absolute lifesaver. I feel like I could do a whole video on like puppy essentials, so I'm just gonna leave it to those bits for now. Vet visits and puppy classes. This is something that I didn't really know a lot about. Obviously I knew we would have a vet. I did not know the vet offered puppy sessions. So you can take your dog, I think it was every 3 months, then it became every 6 months for checkups, which I think is really important. We got Nala microchipped straight away because it's just the safest thing, and I like to think that if she ever got lost or if someone stole her, we can track her down. And it's also just the best source of information. How much should you be feeding your dog? How much weight should your dog put on from being a puppy to an adult? What's the best thing for your dog to eat? What's the best diet? What's the best thing they can have for their coat? How often should you brush their teeth? How often, you know, vets are the best people to go to for all this information, and I learned so much from the regular vet visits. So I would highly recommend looking into whether or not your vet has a puppy program and signing up to it. It really wasn't that expensive, and I found it so useful. Puppy classes. I recommend puppy classes to everyone I know who has got a puppy or who is getting a puppy. We learn how to train a dog, basic tricks your dog should know, when is best to train your dog, you know, how old they should be, what is bad behaviour and what is good behaviour, how is it best to react to bad behaviour. We did a lot of positive reinforcement, so every time she went to the toilet outside, we cheered and hooted like we'd won the lottery, the dog poo lottery. Dogs and pugs, I've found, are very food focused, so we were treating left, right and centre, whilst also being very careful not to over-treat her because pugs can put weight on very, very easily, which is something that I learned at the vets. So there you go. When you first got Nala, did you feel overwhelmed? How did you deal with it? As I touched on a little bit before, yes, it was very overwhelming. I felt like someone had handed me a toddler with no nappy because she was running around and she was putting things in her mouth and she was, you know, peeing on the floor, pooing on the floor, like she wouldn't leave our side. It was like we couldn't take our eyes off her for at least 3 weeks. And it kind of put everything else to a stop, and it was like, whoa, I did not expect it to be like this. Once she kind of settled more into life and she could do things like tackle the stairs, and we knew she could do the step, and she started going outside, and when things became a bit more structured and we kind of found the balance, it became a lot easier. But yes, it's hard work and it was quite overwhelming, but I honestly would not change it for the world, and I would do it again 100%. What has been the hardest thing to train Nala to do? The hardest thing to train Nala to do was toileting outside. That honestly just felt like a hurdle we were never gonna jump over. And walking well on a lead. Those are her two things that, I mean, she's got the toileting down now, but walking on a lead, she's still, it depends. If she's having an excited day, she's useless. If she is just desperate to sniff everything, find a dog, I mean, if I accidentally dropped the lead, she would be gone, and that like terrifies me. Someone said, what is your biggest fear with Nala? Her running off. Has she done any damage to your house? The one thing that she has done, which was very strange, and she hasn't ever done it since, but when she was about 6 months old, she started gnawing on the corner of our wall. And I don't know whether it's because it was cold or she liked the plaster, but we now have little teeth marks on one corner of our wall when you can see the metal of the structure of our house where she used to just chew it down, and it was for like a week, and then after that she stopped. It was the weirdest thing. Best training treats. Okay, so tiny little bits of cooked chicken work wonders. Obviously making sure that if you're using a lot of cooked chicken, you have to take out some of the kind of food that you would be feeding at like meal times, because otherwise that's like food overload. Venison and liver, just these tiny little things. We used those for treats when she was smaller, and you can also get tiny little chicken squares. I don't know the brand name, but we've given her those. Basically something small but delicious, which I think is why chicken is just the best thing. What tricks does Nala know? Okay, so obviously she can do sit, she can do down, which took a really long time to do. She can do high five. She can do paw. I once watched a video online where someone trained their dog to ring a bell for a treat, and I was like, I'm gonna do that. I am for sure going to train my dog to ring a bell for a treat, which is completely unnecessary, definitely isn't needed for everyday life, doesn't make my life easier, but it's something fun and I wanted to give myself a challenge. So she can ring a bell for a treat, which I quite like. Ring the bell! Good girl! We've also recently taught her to wait for her food. I wanted to teach her the word wait because for things like being near a road or not running through a door, or you know, when she gets a bit excited, I wanted her to wait for things. Any tips for bath time? Okay, so things I've learned, if you're going to use an actual bath, which I think is probably better for larger dogs, you want to use a non-slip bath mat. Definitely makes it easier, and an attachment, a shower head attachment. I actually found that Nala was a bit more scared in the bath. I think because the bath is quite big, she's sort of used to kind of freeze up. So we actually use the kitchen sink now because it's quite an industrial sink. It's like metal. It has one of those like hosey attachments, and you know, it regularly gets cleaned. So we decided to do it in that instead because it was smaller and she much prefers it. How do you get your dog to stop pulling on a lead? Is a harness better? 100% get a harness for your dog. They are much more comfortable for your dog to wear, personally, I think. Not that Nala can actually tell me, but I just found them to be a lot more effective. So when she was smaller, she had this one. Another one which is really good for if your dog is pulling badly is this, which is a rough wear. So you can stop them from pulling on the front and on the top. This is the best thing for if you have a really tuggy dog. Her kind of more everyday harness at the moment is this one, which this just goes over her head and this bit goes up either side, and you can select how tight or how loose you want it, which I think is really good. And you have that little bit of space before the lead. And I just found that this stopped her pulling as much too. So, and I think I got this one in Pets at Home. You can get this one online, and this one was from our vet. What shampoo do you use on Nala? At the moment, I'm currently using this one, which is Scruffy Chops, and it's Rhubarking Mad natural mineral shampoo for dogs with a yummy whiff of rhubarb and custard. It smells so good. What is Nala's favourite toy? I would say at the moment she is loving this llama. We got her this for Christmas. I feel like he may have had a Christmas hat. The Christmas hat has gone. Piggy. This was the original Piggy that doesn't actually make a proper noise anymore. So I went online in a massive search to find the same pig, and I managed to find one, although he is a different shade of pink. And I still think Nala knows the difference between original Piggy and new Piggy, but she still loves these pigs, and I don't know what it is. This was her first toy. This is what we call Mingo, which is the flamingo. Oh, and this was her first toy that we ever got her. And although she doesn't really play with it as much, because I'm assuming she just got really bored of it, every now and then I do see her with this. So I think she does secretly love it. A type of toy that Nala is obsessed with is flat, crunchy toys. So this is Mr. Elf that she got for Christmas, and this one has had its fair share of love. It's got little squeakers. No, the squeakers are dead. She also has this hedgehog, which she really loves as well, don't you? Lastly, what is the most rewarding thing about having a dog? It's just the best thing ever. Although you have to really carefully consider getting a dog or getting a puppy, it's honestly like, I don't know what I would do now if I didn't have Nala. Like, I don't really know what my life would be like. It's like she's the missing puzzle piece that I never knew was missing, and she's just become such a massive and important part of like our house life, our family life, and my life really. She has all these little characteristics that just make her the best dog ever, and I honestly love her so much, and I would never change her. It's just the best thing ever, and you're just the best doggy, and you let me pick you up, and we have cuddles, and you know, even though your breath's bad sometimes, I can look past that. Thank you, thanks for the kiss. She is definitely one hell of a gal, aren't you? And I feel like that is everything that I have time for today. I feel like I could sit and answer your questions about dogs and puppies for as long as I could until we literally ran out of questions. But if you ever want me to do another video like this, or if you have any more questions, feel free to tweet me or to leave them in the comments. Give the video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and I will see you again very soon. Bye!